Here are some answers to our worksheet on solving for angles in these trig functions. Question 5 here, I'm going to remove a subtracted √3 with addition. And I get the cotangent of x equals the square root of 3. So I'm thinking of an angle whose adjacent, because cotangent means adjacent over opposite. So an angle whose adjacent is √3 and whose opposite is 1. And if you're having a hard time thinking of that, go ahead and draw yourself a picture. If cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent, that means that we can, cotangent means adjacent over opposite, tangent means opposite over adjacent. So we're thinking of an angle whose opposite is 1 and whose adjacent is √3. This is not going to be a 45-degree angle. It has to be a 30 or a 60. This would be 60 because it's opposite the square root of 3, and square root of 3 is larger than 1. So that makes x equal 30 degrees. We'll write that in radians, pi over 6. 180 cut into 6 equal pieces is 30 degrees. Tangent is also positive in the third quadrant, so just past 6 pi's over 6. So 7 pi's over 6. Those are the two answers. Let's jump down to question number 7. We'll remove a -1 by adding 1 to both sides. We'll remove a squared with a square root. The square root of 1 could be positive 1. The square root of 1 could also be negative 1. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So cosine means adjacent over hypotenuse. So this must be hypotenuse over adjacent. It's pretty easy to just flip over. 1 flipped over stays 1. -1 flipped over stays -1. So if adjacent and hypotenuse are both 1, then hypotenuse over adjacent and adjacent over hypotenuse would be the same value. For this one, I'm going to visualize the angles on our axes. We have 1, 0, that's 0 degrees, and cosine is 1 there. So 0 is one of our answers. And we have -1, 0 over here. And that angle, if you rotate from here to here, it's half a circle or pi. That's our answer. Question 10, let's remove a subtracted 1 by adding 1 to both sides. Let's remove a multiplied 4 with division. And let's remove a squared with square root. Oops, I already put the answer there by accident. The square root of 1/4 is the square root of 1 divided by the square root of 4. It is also -1/2. So we're thinking of an angle whose adjacent is 1/2. Well, that means that this is 30 degrees. Because 30 is opposite 1/2, which means this must be 60 degrees. How do you write 60 in radians? 180 divided by 3 is 60. So pi over 3. That would give us a positive 1/2. We can also say 2 pi over 3 because our cosine could be a -1/2. 4 pi over 3, not 3 pi's over 3, because that reduces to pi, and 5 pi over 3. We get to give all 4 angles because it doesn't matter if that cosine is positive or negative. You're going to square it, multiply it by 4, subtract 1. And when you square, it'll turn it from a -1/2 into a positive 1/4. It doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. Question number 8, let's remove Okay, multiplied 2 with division. Let's remove a squared with square root. So I'm looking for an angle. The square root of 1 is 1. The square root of 2 is root 2. We can't leave a radical in our denominator. So I'm going to multiply by the square root of 2 over 2. Sorry, the square root of 2 over the square root of 2. And I find out that the ratio I have here is the square root of 2 over 2. So what angle is adjacent to the square root of 2 over 2? It always gives it away. When there's a square root of 2 involved, we're going to be working with pi over 4, 45 degrees. Now, when I took the square root, I should get 2 answers, positive answers and negative answers. So I can take every 45-degree angle in the unit circle. They are all acceptable answers. You'll notice I skipped over 2 pi over 4 because that's 2 45-degree angles, which is a 90-degree angle. It reduces. So that's not one of our 45-degree angles. Question 11, we'll move the 5 over to the other side. We'll divide both sides by 4. We'll take the square root. What angle is opposite of a half? 30 degrees. And we get to choose all of the 30-degree angles that there are. 30 degrees, 30 away from half a circle, 30 away from half a circle on the other side, and 30 degrees away from a full circle. Question 9, we will add 9 to both sides. Then we will divide both sides by 3. And then we will take the square root of both sides. I'm going to go ahead and write that as a fraction. So tangent means opposite over adjacent. This is not going to be a 45-degree angle because there's no square root of 2 anywhere in here. Also, the tangent of 45, opposite and adjacents are the same. So that's not what's happening here. So this has to be either a 30 or a 60-degree angle. And since we're talking about this angle opposite root 3, and root 3 is bigger than 1, then we need an angle of 60 degrees. When we take the square root, we should have a positive answer and a negative answer. So you can just choose every 60-degree angle in the unit circle. Last question, we will add 4 to both sides. Let's divide both sides by 3. We'll take the square root of both sides. So secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So this must be hypotenuse over adjacent. So if I want to switch it to cosine, just take the adjacent and put it in the numerator and take the hypotenuse and put it in the denominator. So what angle is next to the square root of 3 over 2? Well, it's not 60 degrees. 60 degrees is opposite root 3 over 2. So it must be 30 degrees. That's a pi over 6. And when we took the square root, again, we'll have every 30-degree angle in the unit circle. I hope that that helps you in solving these trig equations.